A week before my sister's wedding, I learned the real reason my parents wanted me there not to plan it, but to babysit 10 screaming kids. The same wedding I designed, decorated, and paid deposits for. I stood frozen in the hallway as Dad said, "It'll save us money." "Claire doesn't have much going on anyway," Mom laughed. My sister agreed. Their words burned through me like acid, but I smiled, because right then I decided to give them exactly what they thought. I was someone invisible. And when the wedding day came, they finally noticed the one person missing. People always said our family looked perfect from the outside, Sunday dinners, matching sweaters at Christmas, polite smiles in every photo. What they didn't see was who cooked those dinners, who organized those holidays, who made the smiles possible. That was always me, Claire, the dependable one, the fixer, the quiet sister who handled everything so nobody else had to lift a finger. When Megan got engaged, I didn't hesitate. I offered to plan her wedding as my gift, no fee, no conditions. I spent months sketching table layouts, testing color palettes, comparing florals, and tasting menus. Every night, my living room turned into a studio, fabric swatches, sample candles, lists of vendors. My parents bragged to their friends about our daughter, the event designer, but they never once offered to help. They just assumed I would handle it because I always did. Still, I told myself it was love. Family love, the kind that expects nothing in return. I wanted the day to be perfect for Megan. She was the golden child, carefree, adored, and used to getting her way. I'd grown up cleaning her messes, covering for her missed curfews, her broken promises. When she hugged me after I offered to plan her wedding, she said, "You always know how to make things beautiful, Claire." I didn't realize then she meant useful. The week before the wedding, Asheville bloomed with early spring. The sky was soft blue, the air smelled like rain and lilacs. I drove across town every morning coordinating deliveries at the park venue. I didn't mind the work. It was exhausting but satisfying, until that night I came home early and heard them in the living room. My father's voice was calm, practical, like he was discussing the weather. "No need to hire a sitter. Claire can handle the kids." I remember the sound of my mother's agreement, the soft chime of her laugh. Megan's voice followed, bright and careless. "Yeah, she's good with kids. She won't mind." They had planned it all, 12 kids from family, friends, cousins, co-workers, a whole daycare disguised as a wedding reception. I leaned against the wall, heart pounding, hearing my own name tossed around like it belonged to a service, not a person. I wanted to walk in to confront them, but I didn't. Instead, I crept upstairs, opened my wedding binder, and stared at every note I'd written in neat cursive. Color codes, timelines, vendor deposits paid under my name. For the first time, all that order looked like a cage. That night, something shifted. I realized I wasn't their daughter, I was their free labor, and I knew before the sun rose that this wedding would not go the way they imagined. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan, its blades slicing through the dark, each turn cutting deeper into my thoughts. Every sound from downstairs, the hum of the fridge, the clink of dishes, reminded me I was in a house that took and never gave. By morning, I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. It was the kind of numb that comes after years of being told you should be grateful. I made coffee, answered a few client emails, pretending everything was normal. But in the quiet between sips, I replayed their words, "She doesn't have much going on anyway." They didn't just underestimate me, they erased me. That afternoon, I drove downtown to meet Lydia, my best friend since college, at a cafe called Copper Cup. It smelled like espresso and rain-soaked pavement. Lydia walked in late, her curly hair, damp laptop tucked under her arm. One look at my face, and she didn't even bother sitting down before asking, "Who did what?" I told her everything, how I'd spent months planning Megan's dream wedding, how my parents had just volunteered me to babysit a dozen kids like it was part of the package. Lydia's expression shifted from disbelief to disgust. They said that she asked, word for word. She leaned back, arms crossed. "Claire, that's not family. That's free labor." I laughed softly, bitterly. "Yeah, but that's how it's always been. I'm the fixer." Her voice sharpened. "Then stop fixing. Let them fall apart for once." Her words hit me like a slap, and something inside me woke up. When I got home, I opened my wedding binder, the one I'd poured every ounce of energy into. My handwriting filled every page, notes, color swatches, invoices. It used to represent control and love. Now it felt like proof of my captivity. I flipped to the first page where I'd written Megan Dawson Wedding in elegant gold ink. Without thinking, I tore it out. The paper ripped clean down the middle. I sat there for a long time, surrounded by pieces of my own effort until a calm, focused silence filled the room. No tears, no shaking, just clarity. I opened my laptop and pulled up my vendor list. First, the catering company, the biggest invoice. My finger hovered over their number before pressing dial. The manager answered with a cheerful voice. "Hi, this is Claire Dawson," I said, steady and polite. "I need to cancel the catering order for the Dawson wedding this Saturday." There was a pause. "All of it, yes, all of it," she hesitated. "But we're fully booked, there's a deposit. Send the invoice to David Dawson," I said and hung up. Next, the decor vendor, then lighting, then rentals. Each call was easier than the last. I didn't shout, didn't explain. I just unbuilt the wedding I'd created piece by piece until it existed only in their assumptions. When the final email went out, I leaned back and stared at the ceiling again. But this time, the spinning fan didn't feel suffocating. It felt like movement forward. That night, I booked a suite at a boutique hotel overlooking the French Broad River. Just for the weekend, I told myself. Somewhere peaceful, somewhere that didn't require me to fix anything. The confirmation email popped up on my screen. "See you Saturday." I smiled. For once, I meant it. The next morning, I woke to the soft hum of my phone vendor replies, stacking up like dominoes. Some were polite confirmations, others irritated at the last-minute cancellation. One subject line read, "Confirmation catering, contract voided." Another, "Lighting rental, canceled per your request." Each message felt like a small breath of air filling lungs that had been tight for years. By noon, the Dawson wedding was gone, at least the version I'd built. All that remained was the chaos they'd created. I forwarded every email and invoice to my father with a single line, "Future correspondence should go to you." No explanation, no apology, just boundaries in writing. Later that day, I drove out of Asheville toward the boutique hotel I'd booked, the Riverside Haven. The drive wound through mountain roads washed in soft sunlight. My playlist hummed quietly as if even the music knew to stay calm. I checked in early using my own name for the first time in months where it didn't feel tied to someone else's demands. The clerk handed me a keycard with a warm smile. "Enjoy your stay, Ms. Dawson." The suite smelled of cedar and linen. From the balcony, I could see the French Broad River snaking between the hills, sunlight glinting off its surface. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about seating charts or centerpieces. I ordered coffee, set my phone on silent, and let the world continue without me. By Friday evening, Megan started texting. "Hey, just checking, are the table runners in your car?" Then Mom says the florist can't reach you. Her messages piled up, each one a thread of panic she didn't know she was pulling. I didn't reply. Instead, I ran a bath, poured myself a glass of wine, and opened my laptop not to fix anything, but to start something new. A blank document. A logo idea Dawson Designs. Not their name anymore, mine. The night before the wedding, I sat on the balcony, wrapped in a robe, watching the city lights flicker below. My phone buzzed again, Dad this time. "We need you at the park by 7 a.m. No excuses." I typed one reply, "I won't be there." Then I turned the phone face down and left it on the table. It was quiet after that, the kind of quiet that felt earned. I thought about all the times I'd driven across town to rescue someone else's crisis. All the years I'd believed that being useful meant being loved. Now I knew better. When I finally went to bed, the sky outside had turned deep blue. Somewhere across town, they were still preparing for a wedding that no longer existed. And I slept better than I had in years. Saturday morning arrived bright and sharp, the kind of spring day every bride dreams of: blue sky, warm sun, a breeze light enough to make the flowers dance. But across town, that dream was unraveling thread by thread. I woke to sunlight spilling across the white sheets of my hotel bed, the smell of fresh coffee filling the room. I stretched slowly, no alarms, no rush, no obligations. For the first time in years, the morning was mine. I slipped into a robe and stepped onto the balcony overlooking the French Broad River. The water glittered. The city murmured below, and I let the calm soak into me. Then my phone started buzzing. Once, twice, then nonstop calls, texts, voicemails. I didn't need to look to know who it was. The first message flashed across the screen. "Megan, where are you? The caterers aren't here." I smiled. The coffee was still warm in my hand when the second message came. "Mom, Claire, please answer. Something's gone wrong." Then Dad, "Get to the park now." I set the phone down and took another sip. The taste of roasted beans and quiet satisfaction. The phone rang again. Megan, this time persistent as ever. I let it buzz until the ringtone looped twice, then answered just to hear the panic. Her voice came out high, cracked with desperation. "Claire, where are you? The tables are bare. The food's not coming, and there are kids. So many kids running around. No one knows what to do." I leaned against the balcony railing, eyes on the river. "Sounds like a mess. Claire, this isn't funny," she snapped. "You were supposed to be here. We can't fix this without you." "Funny," I said softly. "That's exactly what you said about me a week ago, that you could handle everything." Her breath hitched. "You can't just walk away. It's my wedding." "And it was my work," I said. "But you didn't seem to care about that." There was a long silence, broken only by distant shouting on her end, someone yelling about napkins, a child crying, maybe a guest arguing. I could picture it perfectly, the chaos blooming where my order used to be. Then Megan's voice cracked again. "Just please, Claire, I'm begging you." I let the moment hang just long enough for her to taste it. Then I laughed, quiet, almost kind. "Don't wait for me," I said, "and don't wait for the buffet." She gasped, and before she could respond, I hung up. The phone vibrated again immediately, but I let it ring until it went silent. For the next hour, I didn't check it once. I read a magazine, ordered room service, and took my time with breakfast. The world outside could spin however it wanted. I wasn't part of that storm anymore. By noon, the messages poured in. Lydia texted first. "Are you seeing what's happening online?" Followed by a photo, a candid from a guest's Instagram story. Rows of empty tables, wilted flowers, and a group of restless kids tearing through the park in formal clothes. The caption read, "When your planner quits on the wedding day, #chaos." I laughed out loud, not cruelly, just in disbelief at how poetic it all was. Then another text came from Pamela, one of my mother's friends. "Claire, I don't blame you one bit. They took advantage for too long. Everyone's talking David's furious, Megan's crying. Linda's pretending she's sick. Total disaster." I set the phone aside and let the satisfaction sink in, not as vengeance, but as balance restored. By mid-afternoon, I went down to the spa for a massage I'd booked days earlier. The music was soft, the lights dim. As the therapist pressed gentle circles into my shoulders, I thought of every time I'd sacrificed my peace for theirs. Every favor, every "could you just" that had stolen another piece of me. It was all gone now. When I came back to my room, my phone had 27 missed calls. Dad had left a voicemail, his voice heavy with fury and pride swallowed by panic. "Claire, you've made your point. Come clean this up. You're embarrassing us." I deleted it without listening to the rest. Evening came and I stepped out onto the balcony again. From here, the city looked golden, the sun dipping behind the hills. I ordered a cocktail, the kind I'd always said was too expensive for me, and watched as the lights of downtown flickered on. Somewhere across Asheville, my family was still scrambling to put out a fire they'd started themselves. The next day, my inbox filled with aftermath. Pamela again sending updates like news dispatches. They hired a last-minute catering service sandwich trays for 150 people. Cost them $3,000. Another half the guests left early. People are calling it the most awkward wedding in town. I scrolled through each message, slowly absorbing the wreckage. Then came one from my cousin Matthew, who'd been there. "You were right to walk away," he wrote. "Uncle David tried to blame you, but everyone saw through it. Aunt Linda cried when the food truck showed up. Megan won't talk to anyone." I read it twice, then typed back, "Thanks, Matthew. Some lessons come expensive." That night, I poured another glass of wine and sat by the window, the city quiet beneath me. The chaos was over. The world hadn't ended. In fact, it felt like it was just beginning again, this time on my terms. When the phone rang once more, I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. It was Megan. Her voice was smaller now, stripped of the usual confidence. "Claire, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel used." I let her words hang. There was a time I would have filled that silence for her, softened it, forgiven her before she even asked, but not this time. "You didn't make me feel used, Megan," I said quietly. "You made me realize I was." She didn't reply. I heard a shaky breath, then a whisper. "We'll never fix this, will we?" I thought for a moment. "You never fixed it before," I said. "So why start now?" And with that, I ended the call. Outside, the last light of the day broke across the river like gold glass. I raised my glass to it and whispered almost to myself, to boundaries. 2 days later, I drove back home. The air felt lighter, the kind that follows a storm, finally spent. My house was quiet, no voicemails, no texts, just peace. On the kitchen table, sunlight pooled over my laptop, still open to my new project folder, Dawson Designs. My first independent clients had already replied to my proposals with yeses. Then came a message from Aunt Valerie. "I was at the wedding," she wrote. "They deserved every bit of it. You did the right thing." Her words landed soft but steady like a hand on my shoulder. I opened social media out of curiosity. Photos from the wedding were everywhere, empty tables, kids in stained suits, guests leaving before the cake was cut. The caption said, "Enough disaster, mismanaged, no food." None of them mentioned my name. For once, the chaos didn't belong to me. That night, I poured tea and stood by the window watching the streetlights blink on. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably arguing about who to blame. Megan was likely crying into her untouched wedding album. I didn't feel guilt. I felt clarity. Sometimes the only way to fix what's broken is to stop fixing it. A week later, I stood in my new office downtown, sunlight spilling through big glass windows, sketches pinned on the wall, my name printed on the door, Claire Dawson, event designer. My phone buzzed with a text from Lydia. "Told you they'd learn the hard way." I smiled, sipping my coffee. Maybe they finally did. Family doesn't mean servitude. Sometimes walking away is the loudest way to say enough. If you've ever had to draw a line with your own family, tell me in the comments below. Hit like, share this story, and subscribe for more true stories of quiet revenge and self-respect.